Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Happy Thor's Day to all who celebrate. He's been sailing the seas. He's been taking some pre-draft, post-free agency time off, and he comes right where the dude comes back. He walks onto Minnesota soil again, and he's smacked upside the head with the question today: is this the end of the JJ McCarthy era in Minnesota with the Carson Wentz signing earlier today? We'll get to that. We'll do a 7-round mock. Hopefully we have time for a full 7 here. But Judd, MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning powering Thor's Day today.
And it's finally time to wrap up heating season, and you can do it the right way, okay? For just $49, MSP's professional tune-up ensures that your system finishes strong and stays in great shape for when you fire it up next season. Your furnace, you do not want to fire it up in October and find it's not working because you ignored it in March. No. Prevent breakdowns, improve efficiency, and extend the life of your equipment with one visit from MSP. I'm telling you, they've been in my house. They're fantastic. They are great. You book your appointment now. Between now and April 17th, you'll be automatically entered for a chance to win a Weber grill. That's right. You can win something and also get your furnace tuned up, all for $49. Give them a call, 651-615-4292, or go to their website, callmsp.com, callmsp.com.
Also, Federated Insurance has been protecting businesses since 1904, born from a gathering of business owners who understood the risks and challenges business owners face. And you fast forward over 100 years later, and Federated, which now has an A-plus superior rated insurance company grade by AM Best Companies, is recognized as a premier insurer of small to medium-sized businesses and a premier employer as well in the state of Minnesota and across the nation. So if you're wondering what sets Federated apart, both as a partner for your business and as a place to work, you can find out more at federatedinsurance.com, where they value and measure their success by the success of their partners. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com. All right, boys. Well, I want to throw out just a theory here, because there's been a lot of, I feel like, conflicting emotions and people trying to figure out, what does this mean? Carson Wentz has signed back with the Minnesota Vikings. So you now have Kyler Murray, Carson Wentz, and JJ McCarthy all in this quarterback room. And I personally feel like the Vikings are positioning for the end of the JJ McCarthy era here. If you read the tea leaves, they've spent months and months leaking mostly negative things about McCarthy to local and national reporters. So you can tell there's some friction. We've talked about that a bunch on this show. So that's tea leaf number 1. Number 2, they signed Kyler Murray last week, who had options to start elsewhere and chose, because money was equal, he chose to sign with the Vikings, who, according to Albert Breer, he reported the Vikings even pushed for a second year on that contract, but were told no by Kyler's camp. But, like, you're telling Kyler Murray behind the scenes, yeah, I mean, the competition, whatever, like, we're not going to name a QB1, but he's signing because he's being led to believe that he can and will start for the Vikings. And some people are saying, well, Carson Wentz doesn't really matter. I mean, he's garbage. He's Carson Wentz, right? He's 34 years old. Well, Kevin O'Connell really likes Carson Wentz. I think he trusts Carson Wentz to operate an offense and lead a room more than probably any other quarterback that's currently in that room. And he signed, and this is the key thing, you guys, Carson Wentz signed on March 19th, today. He didn't sign until August last year. A couple years ago, he waited until like November because he was surveying options. But he has spent the last few years as QB2 for Matthew Stafford, QB2 for Patrick Mahomes, and then QB2 with the Vikings turned starter, starts 5 games, throws for 300-plus yards in 2 of the 5, has a slightly below league average passer rating. I'm not here to like debate whether he's good or not. I'm here to tell you he views himself not as a QB3. And the only way he signs a contract with anyone on March 19th is if that team is telling him, oh, yeah, dude, you're like minimum QB2. Because if he's told, well, QB3 is the market for you, why not wait until August to survey the landscape and see what pops open? So for all those reasons, I think JJ McCarthy is QB3, and we can debate whether that's a mistake or not. I think the reality of it is the Vikings, in my opinion, are positioning for the end of the McCarthy era here. Your thoughts? Thor, we'll start with you.
It doesn't really make sense to sign Carson Wentz if you're going to keep both McCarthy and Murray. That's just not a typical constitution of a QB room that you would see, especially if Carson Wentz got any guaranteed money whatsoever. And then if the whole, and going back to the way that the Kyler Murray signing was depicted to the public last week, it was, hey, it's, all the insiders came out. Now, people are just giving Kyler the job, but that's not what it is. Like, it's going to be a fair competition, and it's, classic camp competition. The best guys, going to win whatever. And coming off a season where the head coach, after McCarthy had played the one game against the Bears and then gotten injured the next one, and for the next 6 weeks we heard about mechanics, or 8 weeks we heard about mechanics, and now McCarthy just turns 23, and so it's like, well, great, then develop him if that's what the thing is, and it's going to be a fair competition. How are you going to do that if it's you have these two other quarterbacks that you're also going to be giving work to, and you have to tailor the offense, I think, around the starter and Kyler Murray probably, right? So the fact that you're signing Wentz now, I had the same reaction that you did, Phil. And this is something that we talked about weeks ago, that if they sign the one, guy, in this case, Kyler, you bring back Wentz right after that, it is kind of tipping off that you intend to trade JJ. And if it's not, right, then what, 3-4 months after the team was telling all their reporter sources, oh, wait till you see Max Brosmer. 3 months after that, I guess they're just going to cut him to the streets if it's not true that they're intending to trade JJ with this. It has to be one way or the other, right? So it's just yeah. But I had the same sort of initial reaction that you did.
Yeah. So I think what's so puzzling is quarterback whisperer, right? In Kevin O'Connell, he helps get the most out of Kirk near the end. He basically helps revitalize to a degree Sam Darnold. They draft their quarterback, and now, 2 years almost later to the day, almost 2 years since they've drafted JJ McCarthy, the Vikings are entering the next season with a quarterback room with two guys who have been completely casted off from their other organizations. Kyler Murray, former number one overall pick, and at times has shown flashes of being a really good quarterback, was released by his team. They bring back Carson Wentz because it's a devil they know that was there the year before, but has bounced around to 6-7 teams now, and he's played for almost a new team every single year in this decade. It's a very interesting bet to make that we'd rather, Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings, we would rather bet that we can revitalize guys that have been casted off, and that will put us on a better path to make the playoffs. It's a very interesting and intriguing thing to make, because I would rather you just keep JJ McCarthy around and him and Kyler Murray duke it out a little bit, but they would much rather put their eggs in the basket of two veterans who have been casted off by other teams.
So this goes back to the Combine, when Schefter reported from the Combine that the Vikings were not just likely to bring in a veteran quarterback, but he pointed to Carson Wentz. So this has been choreographed. And so let's just strip away what might happen, because there's a ton of questions here. But let's just go to one word I think is become abundantly clear, and the word is trust. Kevin O'Connell trusts Carson Wentz. Kevin O'Connell wants to rehab. Like Dex, to your point, Carson Wentz has been cast off, but he's been cast off. He's been a backup. He's just sort of bounced around. He now qualifies very much as a journeyman. Kyler Murray is cast off. Like his team said no, and Kevin O'Connell's like, oh, okay, I can take this piece of clay and develop him. And if he's right, he will be again heralded and get his title back of QB whisperer. But this comes down to trust for me. And what this screams is, I don't trust McCarthy. And again, I don't know exactly why. There are clearly things I don't know, I didn't see. But when you bring in a journeyman veteran quarterback who is capable of starting, and you started him, and to Phil's point, you clearly do have trust in the fact that he won't shipwreck you. What I'm seeing here is, not only is it not going to be a competition, but I don't even trust McCarthy to be the backup, because of something I know, something I saw, something I perceived, I don't know. But to me, because it's crystal clear, the depth chart. There's they can say whatever they want. The depth chart is Kyler Murray, Carson Wentz, JJ McCarthy, Brosmer probably practice squad, or I could see him actually being groomed for a coaching role. Like I think he's a coach. But the fact is, this comes down to however he did it, JJ McCarthy lost Kevin O'Connell's trust. Right or wrong on O'Connell's part.
And by the way, for people wondering about Carson Wentz's shoulder injury, it was a labrum and a dislocation. It looked and sounded bad and painful. Obviously, we saw what he looked like grimacing and wincing on the field. But by most accounts, the recovery is like a 4 to 5 month recovery that really is like, unless something goes sideways, and I'm sure they gave him a physical to see where he was at, he'll be back and ready for OTAs and mini camps, according to just some of the reporting that's been out there. So they're bringing him in as not a guy that's going to recover all summer, but like as a guy who's going to be taking reps in the spring portions of workouts here. And I agree with Judd on there's two tracks here. There's what the Vikings are doing and thinking, and then there's the other track, which is what they're doing and thinking correct? And that's where the debate lies. But from a Kevin O'Connell standpoint, he's gone from toast of the NFL, 14 wins, reviving Sam Darnold, coach of the year. Who wouldn't want Kevin O'Connell to start their franchise if you could hire any quarterback, to being embarrassed in 2025, where they're out of the playoffs by Thanksgiving. Collectively, all three quarterbacks combined for the lowest Vikings quarterback passer rating in 15 years. And they had the lowest ranked scoring offense for any Vikings team in 15 years. And Kevin has been embarrassed by that. It's kind of like he's supposed to be an offensive guy, and in his mind, it's scarring for him that the offense was that bad. And when given two choices, continue forward with the developmental project that you signed off on 2 years ago, or bail on it, maybe throw the GM under the bus and let it all be in the past and move back toward the thing you are comfortable with, which is veteran quarterbacks. He has clearly chosen the path of veteran quarterbacks. If it were me, I would have split the difference. Okay, bring in a veteran. Kyler was a former number 1 overall pick. Totally get the logic. Curious to see how that fit works. That's going to be something to watch all summer. But okay, bring in Kyler, and then I would have personally made JJ QB2. And then if you wanted a more veteran like QB3 solution, maybe Wentz comes along later in the process again, or you bring back whatever the equivalent of a Sean Mannion or a John Wolford is. But I would have made JJ McCarthy QB2 to leave open the possibility of a 23-year-old being able to have a great summer or take a step in the case of an injury. The fact that they are closing that door, it appears, is a whole nother step forward in the direction of done with young quarterbacks in 2026, Thor.
Yeah, it is. Pulling the plug on a guy after 10 career games. He went 6-4 last year. McCarthy did. Would have been 7-3 if they could have covered that Devin Duvernay kick. The rest of the team went 3-4. But I guess we're supposed to, we talk about Carson Wentz like he was the 23-year-old coming off a season-ending injury and in his first spin around the NFL. But McCarthy, the burden of proof on him apparently was he had to be way better than Sam Darnold immediately right out of the box. Because getting blown out in the first round of the playoffs as they did the year before, that's unacceptable. And so Sam got scapegoated there. And then, you finish 9-8, half game out of the playoffs. Seems like we have another kind of scapegoat situation here. And if I was Kyler Murray, that'd be another thing I'd be thinking about is kind of got a pattern going on here.
Do you guys think that there also is a chance, just trying to think out loud here about the reasoning here? Do you think there is a off chance as well? Because, Kyler does get hurt a lot. So there's certainly, you can't close the door on him playing like 4 great games and then being out for a month. I wonder if they want Wentz as the backup, because at the end of the day, they know he is the one guy that can run O'Connell's system. So O'Connell's going to have to make tweaks for Kyler probably, right? But if Kyler gets hurt, goes out, O'Connell can pivot back to his system most successfully, I think, in his mind, with Carson Wentz. And that to him is the ideal backup, a guy that can come in and achieve what he wants. Because Kyler's sort of outside the box for O'Connell, and I think that there's definitely some risk there. And I wonder if he thinks, okay, if Kyler gets hurt, I don't trust McCarthy to run my system no matter what. but I do trust Wentz too because he did it, and he's he is I would call him a journeyman serviceable backup at this point. So it's sort of like Joe Flacco. Like you plug Joe in, he can start. He's not great. He's also very old. But I wonder if this is based on, okay, worst case scenario, Kyler gets hurt. I got to put somebody in. I want somebody in then that can run the system that I want to run, because obviously you wouldn't go from what you're trying to do to get the system tailored to Kyler to putting Wentz in and saying, go run what I'm doing with Kyler Murray. Just a thought.
Sure, maybe, because it's win now season and, you have to get back to the playoffs and maybe you have to make a run in the playoffs, but there's no other money being spent on any other position in free agency. Right. And then you had this really old roster last year. Now your last two starters are a 40-year-old punter and a 33-year-old quarterback coming off of major season-ending surgery with that. And, if the Vikings, what they had said initially when they signed Kyler up, all the insiders say it's going to be a true competition. I was down with that. Let the best man win, right? And go from there. We had, of course, our doubts on the surface that we were being told the truth in that moment, and I think we have even more doubts about those now. And if Judd, with what you just said, if that's true, right? If it's even though McCarthy went 6-4 last year, statistically, even with the horrible circumstances, and I think 5 of his 12 turnovers were when he was playing injured at the end of those games. Several of those games in and out of the lineup, and then he had to finish games injured, whatever. If we've seen enough, and he cannot be on the field no matter what in this, apparently, win at all costs 2026, or you have to get back into the playoffs at all costs in 2026. Why don't you trade him for immediate help then? And why did, to your other point, why did you spend the early part of the offseason trashing him? And you sort of, that's what you do to tank a trade asset. So now you're going to carry him as a QB. Like, what are we even doing here? You wonder if, are they not going to trade him because of the nightmare of last year, when then the guy on the other roster, you're just being embarrassed now every week with something that is going on outside of your building. You just isolate it by, well, we'll just carry him forward. We'll just stick him there at the end of the bench. And but I'm a little bit confused about the direction, because either he needs development and we trust our quarterback guru coach to eventually see developmental steps there. You've sort of have gone against that cause here, and then if you're signing Wentz because we're gonna make the playoffs this year, we're gonna whatever there, then why have you tanked McCarthy's trade value by the things that you've been saying publicly? So I'm I'm just confused.
Yeah, the tanking of the trade value is a real thing. I mean, obviously, there's whatever the film says in the play on the field, but then if you are trying to preserve the value of an asset, you would have probably chosen more strategic words publicly and off the record even. But that brings me to my next question, and then we will do a set, because we're kind of halfway through the actual blueprint that the Vikings have gone through here. First wave of free agency. They do have an RFA offer out to Ryan Vandemark, offensive tackle Bills, that we talked about yesterday. And Doogie is saying that the Bills might take all 5 days to say yes or no, which would bring us to Monday. But we'll pick up and do a 7-round mock here from what they've done to this point. Do you guys think, just yes or no, where are your guts leaning? Will JJ McCarthy be traded by the Vikings before week 1 of the 2026 season? Judd? Dex?
I go no. I still think they'll try to make this work. They're clearly, I don't know if they want to, but I think it's a huge mistake. So I think no. I understand why with the Wentz addition, it certainly looks like we're pushing the young prodigy out the door, but I would lean no. But I guess if you're on the betting market side, I'd probably be on the plus money side instead of the negative one there.
Real quick, I think it's a yes. I think they're going to carry him through into camp. I think he's going to mix in QB2, QB3 reps in camp. And I think they're going to do the opposite of what they did last year. They're going to have him play a ton in preseason and see if there's if he can flash in a preseason game and in some camp practices, and then trade him to a team that needs maybe even a QB2 on the eve of the season. What about you guys?
Go ahead, Thor.
I would, at this point, I would probably shade it to yes. I don't have any information on that, but we weeks ago we were talking, Judd and I, we had a full segment on Thor Talks Purple after that report that Judd had alluded to earlier of the Vikings expect them to, even if they sign another veteran, to bring back Carson Wentz. And, in the weeks after that, it was like, or the week after that, now it could be the Jets for Wentz. But Judd and I at the time, so this is a couple weeks ago, we both thought that if they sign Carson Wentz, it's because they're probably going to, be trading McCarthy then, because why would you need the three of them? You already have a Brosmer's, he's no world beater, but he's a fine QB3 in the NFL. And that's what a typical QB3 ends up looking like, a guy that can shuttle between active and inactive, whatever. You usually don't have a veteran there. You usually do not see a top 10 pick from 2 years ago who's played in 10 games, just relegated to that. So I would shade it yes, just reading the cues here.
I'm going yes. Now, it'll be interesting to see what they get back because, we've talked about this. When Josh Rosen got traded by the Cardinals to the Dolphins, that was what, a second-round pick at the time?
Yes.
I guess now you jump at that. I don't know that the Vikings are going to get that, but it feels like we very well might be reaching a point behind the scenes that this is untenable. Like, it feels off. The fall of McCarthy has been so drastic, and I don't know that it's a situation where it's going to help Kevin O'Connell, the Minnesota Vikings, or JJ McCarthy to maintain this marriage. So I guess I am leaning towards yes, but if it is yes, prepare, unless Rob Brzezinski pulls a rabbit from his hat, prepare to be thoroughly underwhelmed by the return.
If I was any team, like quarterback needy team, or even a team in need of future, be burning up the phone lines with low ball offers right now to the Vikings. Yeah. Seems like McCarthy can be had. I don't know how the Vikings can feel comfortable with a final referendum on a quarterback that they felt confident enough about 2 years ago to take him in the top 10 after 10 games played. And I understand this stuff about the health, they lose the first season to the meniscus. Last year is on the field, off again. You had the high ankle sprain. You had a concussion. You had a throwing hand injury that later turned into a full fracture, the throwing hand fracture. But after that, the 10 games behind the 23 different variants of offensive line that, I think that was the number you're playing behind there. I don't know how you could feel confident in your evaluation there when you felt confident enough 2 years ago to make him a top 10 pick. And I think the real point is, if you're going to be that skittish, based on circumstance, because if McCarthy had never gotten injured in the first place, I don't think we'd be here. I think we can all agree with that right now. But if you're not going to have a little bit more bullishness in a top 10 quarterback, you can't even see it through to the end of year 3 when he missed his first season and missed almost half of the second one. I don't think you should be using a top 10 pick on the quarterback position again. And that's sad to say in advance of a stacked 2027 class, because it's not about McCarthy, right? Like it seems like the Vikings have made a decision, at least long-term there, where they're sort of looking in other directions now, there. But if 2027 class, you're going to pick a quarterback. Are you confident in this administration to identify that guy? Are you confident in this coaching staff to develop him? I don't know how you could be.
Let's break this down a little bit, though, you guys, because, again, I'll continue to hammer home. I think this has far more to do with things that we didn't see, okay? So let's I would
agree with that.
So let's break down the relationship, and I'll go to some things that we've talked about. But let's go to the things that we at least know at the fringes about to sort of like drill down here. It started with the kid, okay? So the kid's born. It's before the Falcons.
Not like
everything
the quarterback
changed
kid,
that week.
like the kid.
No,
of
it
the
starts with the baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
It starts with the quarterback's baby being born.
So leading up to the week 2 game against the Falcons.
And they have a week where they play on Monday, so they essentially do a walkthrough on Wednesday. So the full day of practice, they cram it all into Thursday, and JJ's gone for that practice. And O'Connell's clearly bothered and is bothered for a long time about it. And so that seemed odd. We talked about it a lot. But now let's put the pieces together. Early in the season, the Vikings were irritated that when McCarthy was hurt, he wasn't telling them that he was hurt. They were trying to blame him, right or wrong. I have no idea. But then if you guys, it came full circle to late in the season when he was hurt and he told them, it appeared that bugged them. To me, that's an erosion of the relationship because, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so now he's doing what you told him to do, but you're bugged by the fact that you were bothered earlier that he didn't do that. So clearly there's an oil and water thing there. And then, and I think this is incredibly important, being told not to gritty into the end zone, as funny as that sounds, in practice when you almost fumbled the ball, and then doing it.
Football's amazing.
And then saying at the podium, I did it to sort of bug him. Like, that's not normal. That's not a like in the inner football world, that's not funny.
And the question there would be, is he defiant? Is he just defiant as part of his personality with anyone and anything? Or is he extra defiant because he feels a certain way about the coaches that he works with for 2 years?
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Why, right?
That's what I'm trying to get at, though. Right, but it all built up. Like, I think the gritty thing, if there was a fuse here, right? So, like let's say it bothered O'Connell that when the child was born, he missed an important day of practice. If that lit the fuse, and it might have been lit before this, we have no idea. But if that lit the fuse, it felt like the gritty thing blew it sky high. Oh. Because then by the Packers game, or by the game that he started McCarthy, I think it was the Detroit game, when he was clearly hurt, and he just had him play, that ran completely counter to what the original thing was, which is tell me when you're hurt, I'll take you out. So it's just, again, there's and those are 3 things. So if there's 3 things, this is football. There's probably 12 things. And it's because I just refuse to believe that this is just geared on 10 starts. It's trust. And if I can't trust you off the field, if I can't trust you in the building, then I can't trust you on the field. And this is where I think it might be best for both sides, just a divorce. Unfortunately. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, but the thing that and I agree with the overall interpretation there. That from the other side, how because trust goes both ways, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing that you're talking about that was, and you and I talked about that late in the fall there, leading up to the last game, and then coming out of it of man, wasn't it just 6 weeks ago that they were saying we have to wait until he's 100% healthy, want to put him in the best situation to succeed or whatever. They made him a QB3 inactive for 2 games, including one game where I believe the Vikings essentially conceded the game in advance when they trotted out Robo-Wentz against the Chargers. You're forfeiting the game essentially in advance. McCarthy could have started that game. You absolutely would have been more competitive in it. I'm not saying that the result would have flipped, but at that point, kind of what are we doing? And then 6 weeks later, so that was the justification then, right? And you sort of show up McCarthy there. There was a thing of where he was on the sideline, and some defender slid into his legs and he jumped over him or whatever. And then, but then 6 weeks later, now it's get out there with a fractured throwing hand, where McCarthy told the media his pain was 7 of 10 heading into the game. And then, of course, he ended up having to pull himself out. But just the inconsistencies with the messaging and the developmental plan, this was his first year active, right? And so it's, and you can choose, you can do anything you want. He's your employee. He's under your control. The only thing that I would argue here, and I think the biggest JJ haters would agree with me on this in general, is if you're going to use a top 10 pick on a quarterback, maybe 10 games is not enough of a sample to say this is what he is at the end. But I do think, to make the full referendum on it, we're getting off this, because if it is, again, you shouldn't be using that top 10 pick. But Judd, your point is very well taken there.
Yeah, it feels to me like this might be, for lack of a better phrasing, they can't stand each other.
Yeah.
It's if and when the divorce happens, I feel like we're going to get, I mean, there's been just some little things here and there that have kind of clearly poked their heads out, but it'll be another day of the full story, whatever it may be, will be told here. But boys, the Vikings have gone at least so far here in their own offseason blueprint, and so let's pick up where the Vikings are via the PFF mock draft simulator here and put a quarter in Thor. Thor, when's the last time you mocked?
Oh man, it's been way too long since I've mocked. It's been I think
confession.
It's been over a week. Yeah.
It's like confession. My son, when was your last mock? My son.
Thor, they didn't have access to the PFF mock draft simulator while you were on vacation?
I would have gotten in trouble maybe.
Yeah. So we're going to dive in. We can pull a couple traits here too, if that's where we think this might be headed. But a reminder, and mark your calendars if you haven't already here, for a couple different things. Number one, the 2026 Purple Daily Draft Party presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning is Thursday, April 23rd at Mystic Lakes Hop House, also supported by Roku and Grandpa's Barbecue and Victory Tire and Auto as well. Tickets become available this Monday, March 23rd at noon Central Time, scorenorth.com/draft party. That's scorenorth.com/draft party. You can already find information on there. Monday, March 23rd, noon Central Time. We do believe these tickets are going to sell out. Not really sure how quickly, but your best chance is to get there right away at noon Central Time this coming Monday. It is the most fun event of the year. We love just gathering with you guys, Vikings fans, the podcast audience here, and cheersing to another year following this football team and celebrating 50 years since the last time they went to a Super Bowl. So
are we really celebrating it?
We are the whole night. It's going to be a big celebration. We're going to bring back all the key figures. Gary Anderson's going to be. No, I'm just kidding. But scorenorth.com/draft party. Also, a shout out to Mystic Lake. Let's talk more about. There's hotels available too. You might want to get on that and book if you're coming in from out of town.
Yep. Guess what? If you are coming in from out of town, first of all, we appreciate that. That's awesome. But second of all, Mystic Lake, you can stay. You can stay on Thursday. Heck, come in from out of town or come in from the suburbs and make a weekend of it at Mystic Lake. You can spend time in the spa. As Phil just said, the hotel is great. How about this? The Mystic Steakhouse. Savor some lobster and steak, or at the Hop House where we're going to be for the draft party. The Hop House is fantastic. Great food, great drinks, great service, and every possible game. So don't just discover the fact that Purple Daily does a heck of a draft party. Discover the fact that our friends at Mystic Lake also are there to host you and do an outstanding job. MysticLake.com. MysticLake.com to book those reservations.
Also, Judd, while you're at it, while you're on a roll here, talk about the Canopy Group. Talk about the Canopy Group.
I'd love to talk about the Canopy Group. Now, you know what? I'm going to say all positive things because the Canopy Group is great. An in-state-based independent insurance company that has your best interest in mind, much like that successful sports executive, constantly on the lookout for the best talent roster available. The Canopy Group does the same for you when it comes to getting the best insurance coverage at the best price. Here's what they do. They work with 16 groups of top-tier companies to make sure that you have the best insurance roster available for auto, home, health, and business. And then when it's time to renew, you are going to hear from the Canopy Group because guess what? The status quo is not good enough for their customers. They want to make sure that you get the best because you deserve the best. Give them a call. The Canopy Group, you can reach them at 1-800-967-3389 or check out their website, thecanopygroup.com, thecanopygroup.com.
I want a mock.
All right, dudes. Dex will pull up the PFF mock draft simulator here. We have about a 20-minute window to fire off 9 picks. I think we should start listen, the majority of us here, Declan said no JJ McCarthy trade, but the three of us are leaning yes. Should we shop him?
I won't be party to this. You guys would have to. You'll have to lock me out of the room, and then you guys could do it.
All right, Judd. If we have to do it on our own here, Judd.
Okay,
I mean, we both agree that it's more likely than not that JJ McCarthy gets traded. So let's put him on the block here.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
Let's. I keep saying Steelers, so they got a bunch of draft picks.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's go. What if let's start, just for fun, let's start with the 21.
The Jets should. I don't know if they would, but to take the 1-year flyer on the in-between, right? Because obviously 2027 class up. A couple of those teams or Browns, a couple of those, I would try to buy low. But yeah, you're looking at a couple where it's like the 1 year. Rams, Steelers, a couple of the Rams would be really funny. But
well. Look who's back in the room, Phil. It's Thor.
I love
broke down the door.
I love how Thor's sitting here in his head. He's like,
I'm out. Totally out of this conversation.
My biological son is being traded. I don't know if I can do this. And then he's like, but then I could also maybe look at my draft value chart and see. So the 33rd is shading no here, but the 44th overall pick is a yes right now on the PFF mock simulator. And people are going to be like, what? A second-round pick for McCarthy? Josh Rosen was traded for a second-round pick, folks.
At this point, with what's transpiring here, I'll take a second-round pick, especially, I'll take a second-round pick.
I mean, the PFF simulator is telling us it's a yes on the 44th overall pick for McCarthy.
Mm-hmm. I think we have to send it.
All right. Thor?
You boys do what you got to do.
You suggested this.
Here it is. It's accepted.
Oh, and now he's a Jet.
People are gonna
Godspeed,
hate this.
young man.
Listen, all we can do is work within the parameters of the PFF mock draft simulator. So,
First cigarette to your last dying day.
so we
Geno
now
Smith
have,
and JJ quarterback room under Rick Spielman. Interesting.
How about that? Watch the Jets take off.
With
take
Harrison
flight.
Phillips there too, right?
That's right.
Poor Harrison Phillips.
Fire hydrant.
Harrison, he and JJ were buddies, so
Yeah,
a brief
if
time
they will,
here.
yeah.
Together.
So we got the 18th pick, the 44th now, the 49th, the 82nd, 97th, and then everything else. So
and are we holding on to Grenard?
I think for this, just for time purposes
Okay.
here, I think we'll say yes.
Okay.
But that could also be coming down the
Let's
pipe.
get up to 15
Okay.
picks, boys.
All right.
So we're starting the draft here. We'll go all the way to 18. We are on the clock. I'll give you guys, especially for the audio audience, they can't see the visual here. Oh, Kenyon Sadiq, the Oregon tight end, just went at 17 there. Where did Jeremiah? Jeremiah Love is up to 4th here to the Titans, looking for their next Derrick Henry. Interesting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Thor will give you the-
For the folks that want in on Jeremiah Love, you're gonna have to get pretty high to do that.
Yeah. So here's what the PFF big board looks like right now. We have one trade offer, by the way. It's the Eagles moving back 5 picks.
So name really intrigues. I love Jordan Tyson. If Jordan, the wide receiver from Arizona State, if he is cleared medically, and we are still waiting word on that, he suffered a devastating knee injury very early on this time in his career at Colorado. But he was great after that. He did have some nagging lower body injuries last year. And then the other thing is if you're going with Kyler, a guy that played in a lot of 12 personnel, are you finally willing to do the half, basically the sort of setup of the playbook that we were hoping for with McCarthy last year? Will you now be willing to do that? Because if you were, then maybe the wide receiver 3 thing is the need is a little bit mitigated. But then also, how do you see Addison long term? Right. So those would be some of the factors as far as that goes. And one of them we can't ascertain right now because we don't have all the medical information yet.
Mm-hmm. Would you want to trade back with the Eagles back
I would,
to 23?
I would consider, I would do a trade back here.
So it would be the 23, the 18, and then let's just start kicking picks in. The 54 is a no. The 68 is a 61% chance. We move back
rounder?
5
Phil,
spots.
you talked about a 4th rounder.
Well, this right here would be what, early 3rd?
Yeah.
It'd be the Jets' 3rd round.
Oh, and you can
pick.
get this?
Yeah, 61%.
Oh, okay.
What,
My bad.
can we toss in 122, Phil?
Greedy Thor. 39%.
Give 195 from our side. See if that works.
So we take the 122,
Yeah.
and then we give up the 195.
Yeah.
47%.
Okay, I like it.
We'll try it. It's a no.
Yeah.
What if we just take those out? What if let's just take the 68?
All right.
That's a
I got too
61%
greedy.
chance. There we
Yeah.
go. Trade accepted.
Got it.
So we picked up another pick.
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
Back on the clock at 23. Safety from Toledo, Emmanuel McNeil Warren is the best player on PFF's board.
Phil, just out of curiosity, where did they have Thieneman going? Dylan Thieneman?
He was off the board 12.
Oh, God. Okay, so we were never close. Hey, strong consideration, McNeil Warren here. I really like Omar Cooper's game as well from Indiana, the wide receiver. But again, that goes back to are you going to use a slot for an extra tight end or wide receiver, whatever? McNeil Warren would help to solve the safety thing. Now he's more of a move around in the box guy than Thieneman. He played a lot of nickel last year, but you trust him in center field. So that's the only thing is McNeil Warren. It's a bit closer to the box, but like how stretched out and athletic and twitchy that guy is coming downhill, smacking people, reminds you just a bit of a Manwari from last year. With the dimensions and that kind of a game and moving around in the box and what you can do with him in the nickel and how that helps out your run defense. That's probably, and Phil, just just go a little bit further down in the scroll.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Oh.
Oh man, they have Denzel Boston down there, and Caleb Banks Caleb Banks after breaking the foot at the combine That's it. He's had foot problems in the past. That's probably going to push him past the Vikings pick. Very well may push him into round 2. So that's why that one is a little risky for me. Right here for me, this would either be McNeil Warren, or I'm trading back into the second round to get even more picks. And I'll kick that one to you guys because there's other positions here we could hit, but I think at the positions of need, McNeil Warren's the guy right now.
Judd?
So
we could trade back to 30 or 42, by the way. Those are 2 offers on the board.
So, Thor, how much do you like McNeil Warren as like in this slot?
So you do that. You're now making Byron Murphy, your boundary cornerback, right? And McNeil Warren, it's going to be a lot of the nickel stuff. And then maybe we could start moving Metellus back around again. You know, those 2 guys, it's not superfluous skill set. And Flores, he likes to use the 3 safeties, you know, and McNeil Warren's got the range and stuff like that. But maybe that's how you could sort of consider it. Murphy back to boundary, Metellus back to move piece. And you can still move McNeil Warren around a lot, but you're probably similar to a Manwari, want him in, over the nickel.
I don't want Murphy on boundary.
GM Judd, make the call.
Okay.
I don't want Murphy on boundary, so
let's trade out.
I'd trade out then.
Let's trade out.
All right, we're trading back to 30 here. So this would be
that's
the Dolphins. We're swapping these, and we're going to ask for the 43, which is a no.
I want day 2, and I know this is going to make Viking fans cringe because it's going to call back to Kwesi's first draft. But in the moment I said that was a mistake because I said just freaking take Kyle Hamilton. But in this class, you don't have the top end dudes, but there's a lot of depth. And in day 2, there's so many play now type guys with the amount of holes that the Vikings have. This is absolutely a path I'd consider.
Okay.
One thing we could do here is we could get a first-round pick next year. Oh. Here's what it would be. I'm just trying to tinker here. So if we traded back 7 spots and then gave up also the 68 and the 97, we would get the Dolphins' first-round pick in 2027. The Dolphins, by the way, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the Dolphins would do that in real life. Although I guess they signed Malik Willis to a contract. You know, you have to go forward with him next year. That probably wouldn't preclude necessarily a quarterback pick from them. But
you're right though. Like logically speaking, they would want to hold on to that pick. They know how bad they're going to be.
But that would be a monster asset. Like in real life, yeah, absolutely.
They'd all be fired.
We'd get the 75th. I'm going to offer this here, and it's been accepted. So there we have it. So we're picking 30th. And we got an extra pick again. So we have 7 picks in the top 100 here, boys, on the clock at 30. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. I like Boston a lot. Boston is the big body boundary receiver from Washington, played with Roma Dunze a couple years ago, the Chicago Bears receiver. But the Vikings, they talk about the third wide receiver replacing Naylor. They want a bigger bodied boundary guy. But again, this goes back to is there going to be the heavier 12 personnel usage this year? How did they sort of shade that? But I like Boston a lot as a prospect. The Banks one is totally going to come down to medicals, 100% down to medicals, because it's a big fella that he's a freakish mover for his size, but with the foot issues, you know, there's a reason that human beings that big aren't as light as on their feet as Caleb Banks is, and he has foot problems now. So it's a really good fit for the scheme, right? Like, and at this point, it would be good value if he was going to be healthy going forward. But foot injury just a little bit concerns me. And then Peter Woods, who has fallen because disappointing year last year, and the testing hasn't been quite as good. My take on Peter Woods is, if nothing else, he's like a guy, well, Viking fans know, in Javon Hargrave, but not last year, like early career kind of Javon Hargrave. I don't see how Woods wouldn't be at least that with what we've seen from him on the field. So to me, this is good value for Peter Woods here. I think that's gone a little bit far. Those would be the 3 guys that I would be looking at. Since I can't know the medicals on Banks, I would take Banks here if I knew.
No.
Judd, you want to weigh on this one?
No, I'm not touching. I'm not touching a big guy with a foot problem. I don't like anyone with feet problem. Feet are the death of careers.
Big guy with the foot.
So we're down to 2. Your 2 options.
Peter Woods. I think we're going Peter Woods, boys.
Let's go Peter Woods. Yeah, and it would have been shocking a year plus ago to see Peter Woods go this late. Vikings desperately need interior defensive linemen. It will not be the last one we're taking this during this exercise. Vikings need 2 that can come in and play right away.
We are back on the clock with the number 44 overall pick here. And the 2 best players are cornerback D'Angelo Pons from Indiana and Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez.
Send in that card with Jacob Rodriguez's name on it.
Go.
I love Jacob Rodriguez's game. He finished 5th in the Heisman voting last year. This is a guy that went into college as a dual threat quarterback, signed with Virginia, and then later matriculated to Texas Tech, changed sides of the ball. But he always had these measurable concerns, of like, how is he going to measure in? And then the athleticism with that. But he tested as an awesome athlete during the process. The instincts are there all day on this guy. And he's a 3-phase player. He's good in coverage. He manipulates quarterbacks all the time, can flip the field. You can send him after the quarterback. He's really good in run defense. So Jacob Rodriguez, he comes in right away. And a linebacker room that has sneaky need right now, right? Because you have zero depth essentially, and then you're really, really counting on Cashman, who has the injury concerns, and then Eric Wilson, who had the one-off season last year. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah. I like this pick.
Love it. Back on the clock with the 49th overall pick here.
Okay, let's take a scroll down there.
I could see edge, by the way, especially if there is a Grenard trade being loaded up at some point. That Grenard trade could be like a training camp trade.
Yeah.
And maybe they're thinking about leveraging Grenard for the 2027 draft later in the summer anyways at this point. I could see that.
Perhaps. Yeah. But like with, just because we went into this exercise having kept him, I'm not going to push the envelope on that because there's so many positions still with acute need. For me, safety, of course.
Yep.
Boundary cornerback. We're going to have to get a second interior defensive lineman. Coming up here. Wide receiver 3.
Yep.
Center.
What about Eli Stowers, the tight end from Vanderbilt?
Well, he's fun, and he had a great athletic profile. Another former dual threat quarterback, and our old friend Jerry Kill knows Eli Stowers very well. Both New Mexico State initially, and then Vanderbilt there at the end. But bringing back T.J. Hawkinson, and again, if you want to if the whole thing is like make the push to the playoffs, Stowers this year, the skill set is too superfluous to Hawkinson for me. Next season to like push this pick with all the other super acute needs because they're not spending money in free agency.
Jennings Dunker also there, and so if Buffalo,
I do like Jennings.
If Buffalo matches the RFA sheet for
Vandemark,
yeah, Jennings is your guy. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, I do love Jennings, but like I'm a little bit. I want to Phil. Could you put up safety, cornerback? Also toss in wide receiver. I just want to see where those positions are right away because they, once those ones fall off, you can't get an immediate play guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as a cornerback. There we go. Okay, there you
go. Chris Brazel would be so much fun because he's 6'5", 200 pounds, and he got 4.3 speed, and he's awesome downfield.
Football.
Keep scrolling down for me there. Stukes is a nickel guy, so we're not going to be taking him. Igbinosun is super inconsistent.
Yeah, we're getting pretty far down.
Okay, yeah. So we're not going to be taking a cornerback with this one. Boys, I would like to take Chris Brazel if that's cool with you. This guy's a downfield killer. Some people now this is apocryphal, but some people have been like, "Oh, Randy Moss." It's definitely not that, but like he's just an absolute killer downfield, and the amount, it's like again what Christian Watson brings to the Packers offense. That's what you would be making the stab for here with Chris Brazel. Just a physical specimen who really flashed last year in the SEC.
How are the hands?
Hands are good. He doesn't drop balls, which is crazy too. And he's got some good ball skills. Yeah, using that huge body down the field.
Love it.
All right, but you guys are gonna have to tell your guy AJ we're still mocking here. So we'll you guys are recording a football takes. It's the all freaks list today on football takes with Thor. So
if you just tell him we're mocking, he'll definitely
I got it.
Understand.
We're talking snake draft ideas for tomorrow. So I will let him know right now that we're running late.
You guys are really taking this down.
It's very
to
very
the wire.
important.
Yeah, very.
Phil,
important.
toss up those secondary positions for me, and also interior defensive line and interior offensive line, if you would.
Yes.
And you can toss in offensive tackle as well.
I was grabbing all these. Let's see here. You got the cornerbacks. I wish there was a way to. You can't really do these. You have to do it one at a time. That's why it takes so long. PFF, if you're listening, fix your sort button.
All right.
Like
Barney's got some takes.
like Daryl Jackson Jr. there.
Dude.
from Florida State. It's another guy sort of in the vein of Caleb Banks as a huge interior defensive lineman. And doesn't have the foot injuries. You're going to get him on a little bit of a discount here. This would be an option for the second interior defensive lineman. But Phil, give me a deeper scroll on that initial one. I want to see the boundary corners and safeties. I don't like Ramsey.
We also have the 75 and the 82 coming up. So we're going to get several bites at this exact apple, just FYI.
Okay, kind of like Everett, but we can wait on that one. I think maybe with this one, Oh, man, they have moved Logan Jones way up. Man, I was used to getting him in these in the 5th or 6th. Where do they got him now?
95 here now.
95. Oh, wow.
So we have 4 picks between now and 97. So if you wanted Logan Jones, we can get Logan Jones.
Okay, maybe this pick, we take the second interior defensive lineman, cross that off with Darrell Jackson Jr., and then we circle back.
335.
335.
All you can
Big
eat.
boy. Big boy.
My type of player right there.
Back on the clock at 75.
Okay. And I want to say it again. I love Stukes' game, and I'm surprised he's still out here. But it's a pure nickel defender, and so maybe not as acute of a need for the Vikings. They're pretty good there with multiple different guys that they can do. We're going back to both safety and cornerback, trying to find a boundary guy that fits in our value range, and then Phil, also the offensive line would be the other ones.
There we go. Okay. There you go.
I do like Genesis Smith, the Arizona safety, and he can play deep in center field. You can trust him there. We might be able to wait on that one for one pick. Dalen Everett, like I mentioned before, that's a boundary guy that I think can come in and play early. So that might be the direction here.
Okay. Dalen Everett.
Yeah, and
cornerback,
Phil,
Georgia.
How long did you say till the next pick?
So we're picking 75th. We have the 82nd and then the 97th.
You want to do a short trade down? Or
on this pick?
Yeah. Can you just see the possibility of it?
Yeah, let me see. So Everett is 89, so we could go we can go back to...
Yeah, go back with the pack.
84 here. So back with the pack. We go 84, 75. We ask for the 120. That's a yes. That's a yes. We'll just do that. We don't need another 7th rounder here for time purposes. And there we go. Okay. And we're back on the clock with so we have 82, 84, 97.
Okay, look for Logan Jones and then Everett.
So Everett, let's grab Everett here.
Okay, let's take Everett. Yep.
So
there's the boundary corner.
Okay. And then 84, Logan Jones is chilling here. So we could actually maybe get Logan Jones at 97, but it is a little risky because he's 95 on the big board. So we probably grab him here.
How many safeties are above Genesis Smith?
Hey, let me just grab him. Because we might be able to thread this needle and get everyone. Genesis Smith is the number 1 safety on the board right now.
I don't want to risk it. Let's take Genesis.
So Genesis Smith here.
This is a guy who can come in and play safety right away and can play center field.
Oh, we whiffed on Logan Jones.
Are you kidding?
He just went 2 picks.
And then Connor Lewis, man.
Connor Lewis.
I guess they're dipping beneath their actual rankings on some of these. Okay, so what pick are we at now, Phil?
We're at the 97 right now.
We're at the 97. Now, I know, I sort of tipping off offensive line, but I just saw something. We're going to go off the grid here. Phil, the pick here is Jonah Coleman from Washington, who I think is running back, who I think has become criminally underrated and who did not help his cause this pre-draft process by electing not to athletically test, because we know the one thing that he lacks, it's the high-end speed. But the other agility, great. The contact balance on this guy, he's a running back that helps you in every phase. 3-down guy, one of the best pass blockers, if not the best pass blocker at the running back position in this class. Drawn comes to Doug Martin, sort of a poor man's Maurice Jones-Drew, like something in there. The guy with the all-time bowling ball build that combines agility with power. Love Jonah Coleman, and he might come in and start right away.
Love this. Jonah Coleman, welcome to the Minnesota Vikings.
Now let's try to get our offensive line help.
All right, now we're at the 120, so I'm going to give you let me just see if there's any crazy, because there's a couple guys on here. Billy Schrauth, my guard from Notre Dame, is sitting on the board. I'll give you tackles and interior offensive line here.
This might be Brian Parker.
Brian Parker. tackle from Duke.
Yeah, we're going to be taking Brian Parker here. Brian Parker is moving into center at the next level. He played center in high school, so we know he can do it. He's been doing it this pre-draft process, but he's going to compete right away for that starting center job.
We'll see a right tackle with the Duke Blue Devils. Okay.
So I'm considering that the center pick.
Now we're back on the clock at the 161. Here's what we have so far. We've got 2 interior defensive linemen, a linebacker, a wide receiver, corner, safety, center, and running back. That's what we've picked so far.
Okay. I'm still looking. So, yeah, we got that running back. Offensive tackle, certainly. We want the C.J. Ham replacement at some point as well. Just a couple other ones, but maybe offensive tackle here.
Okay. Yeah, they're kind of further down. We could probably grab one at the 195 based on the way. Well, maybe not. Actually, there's 3, and then there's a huge drop-off. It's one of these 3 guys.
Yeah, let's take Drew Shelton with this pick. Drew Shelton was projected a lot higher in years past, but he's another one of the guys that got hurt by Penn State having a really bad year this past season. But it's an athletic kid, a lot of experience at the highest levels of college football there, obviously, with Penn State. And on-field, so Drew Shelton, the testing during the pre-draft process, right now he has an 8.5 RAS, which is decent, but whatever. But on-field athlete, you just look at the chips. Drew Shelton was a 99th percentile on-field athleticism guy at Penn State, so he moves around just fine. And this is a legitimate tackle developmental prospect that also, because of his experience and what we've seen of him at the highest level, you could feel comfortable putting him in next year if there was the cluster injuries at tackle.
Love it. The 195 on the clock right now.
Okay. Let's see here. So, I think we're pretty good with the needs, right?
Yeah, well, fullback, your guy Heidenreich is sitting right here from Navy.
I kind of like, is that Cozio?
Tanner Cozio.
Yeah, Tanner Cozio. I think I want to take Cozio here as the guy to store behind TJ Hawkinson for 1 year. This is the guy, you get him at a discount here. Tanner Cozio tested really well as well and was crazy productive in college. This would be a cheap price point to get the 1 year run on developing TJ Hawkinson's potential replacement here in Tanner Cozio. So because of the value, I would like to take him.
He's had at Houston the last 2 years almost what's the math on this? 170 catches and 17 touchdowns over the last couple of years. Okay, got a little late round tight end flyer.
2024 was at Ball State in action, but the 2025 goes to Houston. And both the years, you see when he jumps up in levels, it didn't matter. The new team now is pounding him the rock as well.
So now we have the 234, the 235, back-to-back picks here, and then the 244 to round things out.
I guess I can't do my Brett Thorson pick. Oh, okay. Phil, we're taking Caden Weegin here. Who sometimes I forget to look at. Caden Weegin from Iowa is one of the great return men prospects that you'll see in a draft. I comp him to Dante Hall. It's one of those, you got to see it to believe it. So if you've never, it's Wetjen. If you have never seen Caden Weegin return punts before, Google it when you listen. You put us on pause for a second. Go and Google his highlight reel as a punt returner. We're going to improve the special teams with this pick and also take a flyer on a guy who has potential developmental potential as a slot receiver in Caden Weegin. He just didn't play in an offense, unfortunately, and I say this as an Iowa graduate that develops receivers or quarterbacks or uses the slot receiver.
Yeah. And I have to ask, he's from Iowa, so does he know the fair catch rules, or do we have to refresh those?
Too soon, Phil. Too soon.
Make sure.
Too soon.
Back on the clock with the 235.
This one might be Bredesen. Can you also check if Riley Nowakowski is there? Because that one would just come down to you want the. I think they list Nowakowski under tight end, even though he's really more H-back, fullback-y, or as far as NFL utility.
Looks like he might be off.
Oh, man.
He just went 3 picks. The Rams grabbed him. Oh, 13 personnel down your throat.
Okay.
Okay, so Bredesen.
Got us. Let's take Bredesen. Bredesen might be the best blocker, of just like the, running back, fullback, that sort of a thing. Bredesen certainly the best blocker of the guys where in my database I project at the full. He's just a hammer. right? And so that's what he's going to do. He's a stick of dynamite there. So this is a guy that, you can trust to protect the quarterback. And Bredesen's played with McCarthy before, although, I don't know if that ends up coming up here, whatever. But like either way, for the roster need, Bredesen fills that.
And because you're wearing a North Dakota State University T-shirt for this mock draft, I don't know that they are. Well, we just traded McCarthy, right? So Cole Payton, come on down.
Come on down. I mean, I always love using the last pick on Cole Payton either way.
So, okay, let's see what the PFF.
And I'm wearing my, at that point, if you trade McCarthy, you brought back Wentz. Now you've taken Cole Payton. We have some happy NDSU alums out there because now the QB room, 2 of the 3 guys, NDSU.
Now we're scrolling down. Now we weren't trying to game their system as much, so it gave us a B, which is not terrible. But we drafted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players.
Sure did.
After all these trades here, boys.
Feeling special, baby.
I want a mock.
Build a lot of these there. So, all right, Thor Nystrom, happy Thor's Day to you and all who celebrate. Got Barney in the house. Barney Zolgad.
Man, it was good to mock again.
What's up, Barney?
Just makes you feel
Barney
alive.
even had to come out. We were mocking.
Yeah, he's like, I went out.
All right, for producer Dex, I'm Phil. We'll see you for a Feedback Friday here, Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.